We hear the word chosen people so often, and many Jews are very uncomfortable with the word. And the reason they're uncomfortable is because it sounds arrogant. We're the chosen people, as if we're greater than everybody else. And so they shy away from it, or they deny it and say, no, we're not really chosen. But you are chosen. It says so in the Bible. It says it in the Torah numerous places. So what does it mean? I am Rabbi Moshe Bryski. I am with Chabad in Agoura Hills, California. I think if we clearly understood the meaning of the word chosen, we wouldn't run away from it. We would embrace it. We would be proud of it. And we would be able to explain it a lot better. So let's rewind the clock. God creates a world. In the final creation, he creates a human being, but he gives this human being something unique, something different than any other aspect of his creation. He gives the human being free choice, the ability to make a choice. Everything else that God created may be perfect, but has no free choice. The sun will always be the sun, the moon will always be the moon, the galaxies will always be the galaxies, and the elephant will always be the elephant. It can't change. The human being, Adam and Eve, are created with that ability to choose. And that very first story of the Bible backs that up. The story of don't eat from that tree and they eat from that tree. That to me is the most mind-boggling aspect of the story of Genesis. We tend to focus on how many years did it take for God to create the world, and billions of years, the science version, the biblical version. That's where you get tied up. Really, the mystery of Genesis is that she reached for the fruit and took the fruit and was able to eat the fruit. Wow! A creation of God doing something that God said not to do. Free choice is the most mind-boggling of all creations of God. But that was given only to the human being. That's the experiment that God gave the world. And for 2,000 years, we had, as we say in Hollywood, take one, take two, take three. We keep trying to get the world right, and it doesn't seem to work. You have the story of Cain and Abel. You have the story of Noah and the flood. You have the story of the Tower of Babel. It's not working. This experiment of giving a creation free choice is simply not working out. That is until one human being enters the scene. His name is Abraham. He's different than everyone else. What makes him different? Not just that he was righteous, because Noah was righteous too. See, Abraham sees the world, and he sees the world as this palace. And he sees that the palace is burning. He sees evil triumphing all over the place. He sees that the strong win over the weak. He sees a palace, but the palace is on fire. And he doesn't understand, how can there be a palace and it's on fire and the owner is not coming to put out the fire? Whoever built this world, why aren't they coming to repair this world? Until it dawns on him. Because it's up to us to repair the world. It's up to us to put out the fire. Abraham begins to understand that he has to play a role in seeing to it that people utilize their free choice for good. And he doesn't just have this belief himself, like Noah had. He does something about it. And he starts talking to others. He invites people into his home to talk about the belief in one God, to talk about kindness, to talk about being good and kind and moral and just and ethical. And then God speaks to Abraham, and God says to Abraham, I have selected you. You will be the father of a new nation. That's where selection, that's where this begins. That's where our story as the Jewish people begin. It begins with Abraham. Abraham chose God, and God chose Abraham. But here's the critical verse. And this verse gets repeated over and over again and is often lost in our conversations on the subject of the chosen people. When God talks about the blessings that he will give the descendants of Abraham, he says, and through you will all the families on the face of the earth be blessed. Your role, your responsibility as a member of the chosen people is to bring blessings to all the families on the face of the earth. That's our task. Is it arrogant? It's not arrogant. It's responsibility. It's recognizing that you're part of a nation that God gave a responsibility to see to it, that blessings and goodness come to every single family on the face of the earth. God will repeat that when he selects Isaac from the children of Abraham. God will repeat it when he selects Jacob from the two children of Isaac. He will constantly repeat that all blessings to all families on the face of the earth should come through you. That's your responsibility. So you hear the word, you are to be a light unto the nations. It's to actually bring the blessings and bring the light to all the families on the face of the earth. That's always been our responsibility. The way to best understand it, our country, every country has ambassadors. Ambassadors are sent to different parts of the world. The ambassador's sole task is to represent their government in that particular part of the world that they've been sent. God asks the Jewish people, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Sarah, Rivka, and Rachel, Leah, to be his ambassadors. Wherever you go on earth, be God's ambassador. You represent God and godliness, and your job is to influence a world, to change a world, to make the world a better place. I heard this powerful story that took place in the early administration of Menachem Begin. When Begin became prime minister, there was a Knesset member. The Knesset member's name was Tamir. And it was going through a very difficult economic times in Eretz Yisrael. The economy was terrible, poverty was very high, people struggled to put bread and milk on the table. There were crisis after crisis during the early days of the Begin administration simply because of the economics of it. Well, Knesset member Tamir cared very much about the poor families. He made an appointment to see a very, very known holy rabbi in Jerusalem. His name was Aryeh Levin. He made an appointment with Aryeh Levin, and he came in and he said, what I'm about to ask is very difficult even for me to ask, but I'm here to ask. What is it that you want? He said, I know so many poor families, especially young ones. They can't afford food on the table. And then they find out that they're pregnant with another child. I'm asking you, Rabbi Levin, during this economic crisis, would you consider giving a heter? A heter is permission for them to consider an abortion. Allow during this economic times, just during this period of time, that if they're pregnant and they don't have the funds to bring another child into the world, that the rabbinate allow for an abortion to take place. That was the question he asked Rabbi Levin. So Rabbi Levin said, it's interesting that you bring that question to me because I remember years ago, a young couple came to me. They were both students in the university. They were married. They had a daughter, and they just found out that she was pregnant with another child. And they came to me and they said, we can hardly make ends meet as it is. We're both students. And now we find out that we're expecting another child. We can't afford another child. And they asked me the same question that you, Knesset member Tamir, are asking me now. They asked for permission. Can they get an abortion based on economic conditions? And I told them no. And the reason I told them no were two reasons. One, I believe that the God who blesses one with the miracle of a child will also bless with the miracle of sustenance. That the miracles come together, and a baby brings additional blessings into a home. So if God has blessed you that you're going to have another child, God has also already blessed you with the ability to feed another child. That's number one. The second reason I said to them was that I believe that every Jewish soul sent into this world is sent on a unique mission. We have a collective mission as the Jewish people, but we have individual missions as an individual soul. Which means the soul that's already been designated to you has a very unique mission from God, not just for its own sake, not just for its own family's sake, but for Klal Yisrael and for the entire world. That there's something unique that this soul has that the world needs. Why should we put a stop to a mission, a godly mission, before it even begins? Let the soul come into this world and fulfill its unique mission. That's what I told that couple. So Minister Tamir says to Rabbi Levin, so I take it the answer then to me today is no. And Rabbi Levin shakes his head and says, yes, that's the answer. As Minister Tamir is about to leave, he turns back to Rabbi Levin and says, Nu, did that couple listen to you? And he said, yeah, they did. And Nu, what did they have? They had a boy. And Nu, so tell me, Rabbi Levin, did that boy fulfill his mission, his godly mission that you told the parents about? To which Rabbi Levin said, only you can answer that question, because it was your parents that came to speak to me that day. It was your parents that were struggling, and it was them that I convinced not to abort you, but to bring you into this world, for you have a unique mission. Every single one of us has that unique mission. It's our choice, it's our free choice, if we're going to live up to it. But we are part, every single one of us are part of that chosen people mission, and we have work to do. People have asked, have we done a good job as the chosen people? Have we lived up to that responsibility? I'm talking about historically. Have the Jewish people done a good job? And the answer is absolutely. Yes, we've done a magnificent job. Could we do more? Yes. Could we do better? Yes, and we will. We will bring Mashiach. The Messiah will come. That's ultimately our mission goal, and we will get there. We're very, very close. But at the same time, look back historically at the job that the Jewish people have done, and we've done a magnificent job with most of the time our hands tied behind our back. If I was to tell you an individual woke up one morning, he wanted to get a newspaper, so he got into his car, he drove to a market, he took out a quarter from his pocket, he bought a newspaper, went home, and sat and read the newspaper. And if I was to ask you about that story, was there anything significant in it? You would say absolutely not. Nothing that I told you is significant. Nothing about that story means anything. But if I to tell you that same story but rewind the clock 2,000 years ago, everything about that story is magnificent. He got into a car. What's a car? What's an automobile? You got into a box and was able to take you from point A to point B. He took out a quarter from his pocket. That's currency. What's currency? The world lived on a system of barter. It's a barter system. You brought me your corn and I gave you some flour. A coin? Currency? He bought a newspaper. What's that? It's printed material about what happened in the other part of the world. It would take months and months to hear what happened in the other part of the world. So when you look at particulars of a story, you have to go back in time and then look at the changes that have taken place since. I say that to you because you want to know the accomplishments of the Jewish people. The entire world lives on the way it lives today because of the gifts that the Jewish people have brought to the world and the significance of those gifts. We taught the world monotheism. We taught the world about kindness for the sake of kindness, not because I'm a kind person, but as a responsibility as a human being to be kind. We taught the world about a day of rest, that the world should not be a 7-day work week. Yes, for us it's Shabbat, but for the rest of the world, it was a message that the world does need to come to a stop, to take a deep breath, and to appreciate the gifts of the family that you have. We taught the world the importance of education. We taught the world the idea of prayer, the idea of repentance. We can go back to every single aspect of what we live today in the modern day world and understand these were gifts that the Jewish people have brought to the world. We brought the world the whole teachings of how the United States of America studied the writings of the founding fathers. It was all based on Torah principles, on Judaic principles. On the ethics of this country was based on Judaic ethics. There was this very wealthy philanthropist in Israel, very involved in his community, very involved in charity for yeshivot. He also raised 3 sons, and each of them became headmasters of a yeshiva, very, very successful individual. And someone once interviewed him, and they asked him, you came to this country alone, as a child, as an orphan. How did you do all this? How did you build this all up? without connections, without family. How did you make all of this happen? And he said, if I had to trace it all, it would be to one moment. It would be just to a few words that my father said to me. But it's the setting of those few words that have had such an impact on my life and guided every single day of my life since. My parents, he said, saw the writing on the wall. They saw Hitler closing in, and they saw it wasn't going to be good for the Jewish people. There was talk, underground talk, about this kinder transport, that people were giving their children to be put onto trains to be taken to England, and there at least they would live. My parents made the very difficult decision to put me on that train. The morning that my father took me to the train station, the way to the train station was quiet. He wasn't speaking. Very little conversation, very little talk. We sat in the train station, we just looked at each other. What kind of words would a father say to a son knowing he'll probably never see him again? What kind of words does a son say to a father when he realizes he'll never see them again? And so it was silent, silent. The train came. My father walked me onto the train, took my little suitcase and put it up on top. I was sitting in the seat on the train, and now my father has to say goodbye. We're staring at each other, and he begins to cry. And the words that come out of his mouth to me was, Zaya Gute Yid. Please be a good Jew. Be a proud Jew. Zaya Gute Yid. And with that, he walked off this train, and he stood by the window near where my seat was. The window was open. And he repeated those same words. Zaya Gute Yid. Be a good Jew. The engines of the train started. My father now raised his voice. Zaya Gute Yid. The train started moving slowly. My father's walking along with the train. And again, Zaya Gute Yid. The train picks up speed. My father is now running along with the train. And as he's running, he falls to the floor. And he's lying there on the floor, and he picks up his head, and his last words to me, Zaya Gute Yid. Be a good Jew. Be a proud Jew. I have lived with those words every single day of my life. Every day, before every transaction, before every deed, before anything I do, I ask myself a question. Is this in living with being a good Jew and a proud Jew? My dear friends, that's really what all of our parents and grandparents, that's the message they have for us. Going back for thousands of years, they ask of us, be a proud Jew. Be a good Jew. That's our responsibility. We carry that with us.